Okay, so we are live and we're going to record as well. There she is. Siri, let us know. So welcome to the Way to Wow show, People Making Money. This is our live feed every Wednesday at 12:30 Pacific time, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. And my guest today is David Notowitz, and I'll introduce David in just a minute. I usually take a couple of minutes at the beginning of each show just to recap last week's show. And for those of you who missed it, last week I talked about the 5 steps you need to take in order to get either a well-paying job or start a business that you can really enjoy doing the work. Okay, I'm not going to recap all the 5 points. But if you go to our YouTube channel, The Way to Wow show on YouTube, you can watch a replay of that show. And I would encourage you to watch all the shows. We're in our 3rd season now. And especially if you like cocktails, take a look at some of the shows from the first 2 seasons. We were doing a bit of a different format. And you'll see some of the best bartenders in Los Angeles mixing up classic cocktails and even some of their original creations that they made based on a particular guest or segment that we were doing. It was a lot of fun, and hopefully at some point we will get back to doing that. So for today, I have a guest that I've been looking forward to speaking to for a long time. I've known David for, gosh, what have we known each other for? At least 20 years, right?
A long time, yeah.
Long time, yeah. Since we were 2.
Exactly.
And David has one of the most interesting career progressions of anyone that I know. And here in Los Angeles, he's not into hyperbole. Here in Los Angeles, every, I think, second or third person you meet wants to be involved in the film business. And yet, it is a notoriously difficult business to make it in. So, the streets of Los Angeles are littered with people, would-be writers and actors and directors and even producers.
And they're all homeless, right?
Right. You can go interview them and they'll tell you, my picture was set up at Paramount and then they put it in turnaround and here I am, kind of thing. That's all entertainment speak. We won't translate for now. So, oftentimes they have to find something else to do. And usually it's not anything related to what they really love. I have one friend who wanted to make it in live theater and ended up as a brand manager for a spirits company. And she's terrific at what she does and she can use her skills, but it's not the same as, she doesn't get the same kind of performance kick that one gets when you're on the stage. So David has found a way to do very well at doing what he loves. And so I'm going to let David tell you the details of his story, of how he went from, starting out trying to get involved in the sort of traditional film business and ending up as one of the foremost forensic video experts in the world. It's a like I said, a fascinating career arc. But so David, why don't you just start us out? What led you to want to be involved in film? Where did the spark of that interest come from?
Oh, that's a good question. Most people don't ask that question when they interview me, but I started off with doing a lot of still photography, honestly. I loved it when I would travel with my parents in the summers and we'd go in motorhomes and I'd see beautiful sights and I'd take pictures and I'd write journals about the pictures and about my travels. And I loved meeting people that were unusual and interacting with them and just writing about them. So I wrote about them and took pictures. So then when I went into college, I was at Santa Cruz, and one of the classes I took on the side, not to be the main class, was something called the film experience. And the film experience was eye-opening for me because they showed films that I had never seen in my local theater. I didn't know that there were these films that existed, and they broke the rules of filmmaking. I won't go into details, but they broke a lot of the rules and they black and white and old time films. I was blown away, and I started thinking I could make maybe documentaries because I worked, I enjoyed meeting people. Enjoyed learning from people, from other people. And I enjoyed taking pictures and composing the shots and everything. So I tried right away I'm not going to go into all the details, but I joined a class, did documentaries in Santa Cruz, and thought I would continue doing that, and also narrative films and working on them. My love was really editing. I loved the technical side of it and editing, and I'd be alone for many hours in the dark in these booths in Santa Cruz. So I went and met people when I was shooting, and then I'd go back and be all alone in the dark for many hours, many days in this booth. And I just enjoyed the whole process of creating and shifting stories and, removing things that were less interesting to create a flowing, completed story.
So just to digress for a moment, what were some of those movies that inspired you? Because I think people may want to check them out.
I would say I'll just name one. One's called The Stuntman. And The Stuntman broke the rules of filmmaking all throughout, but it was a narrative story. I think Peter O'Toole starred in it, if I'm not mistaken.
This is the one that's set at the Hotel del Coronado.
Oh, now you're asking questions. I don't know. I don't remember.
I think that how tall is King Kong, right? That was the big line from the movie. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fantastic movie.
And there's many other movies too, but The Stuntman sticks in my mind as something that really influenced me and being interested in filmmaking.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great story for people who just like to watch movies. But for people, I remember, because I was involved with filmmaking back then myself with my partner who directs the show, and we probably saw that movie 5 times or something, because it's a great filmmakers movie as well.
Yeah.
So you're in college, you're making documentaries, okay, and now as a lot of college students find, eventually you've got to get out of college, right? And you've got to do something. So what was that transition like, going from college out into, the so-called real world?
Yeah, so I had to find a job, of course. I wanted, as I said, my technical expertise was editing. And so I kept, and I enjoy editing even today. So I stayed focused, as that's my skill. That's what I have to offer. I'm not going to say, I want to be a director. I didn't see myself saying that, although maybe at some point I would do that, but I didn't claim that. So I also found a connection, which is really interesting. I found a person who does television news in a very specific topic, which my dad's business was in. And so I learned all about my dad's business, and that is rare coins. And this guy did a 2.5-minute segment on the Financial News Network, and I could be his producer. I knew I could help him with, with questions, with editing, with, shooting footage. And I did that for, I don't know, a year, I think, a year and a half, Financial News Network. And through that, met other people at Financial News Network that asked me to help them with their shows, with editing, and started editing half-hour shows for them. And then a friend of mine asked me to help him edit his feature film that he was putting together, which I would have to do for free. Or very little. I can't remember now. I think it was free. And I kept my eyes open. I kept looking around for other editing opportunities. So that's how I kind of merged into doing other kinds of video productions and films and corporate videos down here in LA. And I supported myself. I did. I lived with 3 other guys in an apartment, and in the beginning, and all kinds of production jobs. It was a lot of fun. Probably 10 years of that.
Wow. So you mentioned you met a particular person at the Financial News Network. How did you meet him?
Well, it was a series of people I met. It was just, honestly, when you're doing good work, hopefully you get, when I'm editing something and they like the results and they need an editor, and they talk to their friends at the Financial News Network and who's a good editor, and they pointed me out.
So really knowing all the ins and outs of your skill and pursuing it to the absolute best of your ability, that sounds like that's what opened up the initial doors for you.
Yeah, exactly. I also knew that when I saw this opportunity at the Financial News Network about rare coins, it dawned on me that I had this other skill that I never thought would be of use, to anyone. But when I was interested in editing, and then I saw this really niche subject, they didn't even interview anyone else, I don't think. It was like, oh my gosh, rare coins and video production, editing. And you graduated from, you actually have a lot of skills and you can show us projects from college. And so I just got the job. It was, and I knew it was perfect for me too. Like I knew that I could help them a lot. I was working for an anchor who had to have this show every day, 2.5 minutes every day on the air, and had to be ready. And so I was responsible for that.
Wow. So a lot of pressure. Yeah,
it was a lot of pressure actually. And I forget when, but it was in the morning time, like, 9:30 or so. It had to be running on the air live,
Wow.
So all the pieces had to be together. And so you're building projects throughout the week, multiple projects that you're getting ready. I remember there was fascinating, shipwrecks with coins on them, and they would be discovered in the news. And then I would get all the archival, try to get as much as I could from them of their footage, and then edit it together and create a story about the rare coins. That was like my favorite story. But there was times when my anchor's back went out. Another really amazing story was his back went out, and he was about to go to Washington, D.C. to actually meet senators and interview them about investing in gold and silver and rare coins at a whole conference. And he sent me there to be the anchor, to be the reporter. Wow. And I didn't even want to be the reporter. It wasn't something I had ever wanted to be as a reporter, but they sent me with the cameraman, and the cameraman's telling me what to do. Like, okay, you're going to stand here, you're going to say this. And a couple times we went, or maybe only once, we went live, which was really made me panic. Like, I'm going to have to go live, on a national audience, Financial News Network audience. It was a cable station, but it was a lot of people would watch this thing back then. It got bought by CNBC. The amount of jealousy that I heard existed in that newsroom, because a lot of the news people, like, the ones who write the news, they want to be reporters, and they rarely get the opportunity to do it. Because I know the subject matter about rare coins, again, they sent me to Washington, D.C. to report this stuff. It's a fun memory. I didn't want to continue it, to be a reporter. But the news director, I remember, told everyone in the whole room, I was told later, okay, guys, you won't believe this. David's going live. We all have to stop and watch. So it was a funny, it's a funny memory.
Do you have a film clip of it?
I have somewhere. Yeah, I have. It's probably in storage somewhere. I haven't seen it for many, many, many years.
Yeah.
I bought a trench coat to make myself look like a reporter, and had a hat. I don't know if I wore the hat, but I know I wore the trench coat. And I was like, they told me how to say it, like, reporting live from Washington, D.C. This is David Notowitz for the Financial News Network. Like, I had to memorize that. And I still now, saying it now, I haven't said that, in 20 years or something, but I had to remember all those details about what
this is what, like the 1990s or something?
Yeah, it would have been the early 90s, like 1990.
Oh man, it's just that's so funny. So now you're spent sort of 10 years in the trenches of film production and the sort of constant needing to turn over a show every day. So the Financial News Network job I kept for about 1.5 years. Okay.
So after that, I went into doing all kinds of other things. They moved to New Jersey, Financial News Network. I can't remember which year, but I was there for about 1.5 years. So I didn't go to New Jersey. They gave me the option. They said, we're moving. You can stay with us if you want, but you got to move to New Jersey. And I was like, Let's see, LA, New Jersey. I stuck with LA at the time. I was like, no, I want to be involved in film and, stay in that world. So, and I had enough, other little jobs on the side that were kind of building up.
Mhm.
And again, I was living with four other guys. It was very low rent. I didn't have any responsibilities of a family or anything like that.
Mhm.
So I just did that and I was okay. And I stayed here.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I did corporate videos. I did whatever. And I looked around on the trade magazines like Daily Variety and Hollywood Reporter. They had the classified sections, it was before, crazy internet so much,
Right.
where you could look stuff online. So you looked in the newspapers, you called people.
Mhm.
It's a very uncomfortable, very difficult situation when you're always looking for new work. And that's what this job is like in LA. That's what filmmaking is like. I'd work for someone, and even on the job, other people, cameramen or sound guys, are on the phone looking for their next job.
Mhm.
So it's a very tense thing, and I haven't been involved in that for a lot of years, but I still remember saying, "Wow, the successful guys, they're still looking for jobs while they're on another job," and I didn't like that idea.
So, and how did you handle that? I mean, how, again, it's a lot of stress, right? Because, your jobs, I imagine in most cases aren't for a very long period of time, right? So
Right.
that's why they're constantly on the phone with, trying to line up their next gig. So how do
Right.
you deal with the uncertainty, the pressure, the stress?
Yeah, I did get some other side jobs like marketing writing once in a while as well, because I love writing. And even today in my work, I do marketing writing for my own company. Um, so the stress was pretty, it's a pretty real thing. I loved going to film. So I go to film festivals and meet directors and try to, meet them and say, look, your editing was okay, but you could have a better editing job. And I would explain that. I say, next film, you should be hiring me for your editing. So I'd be, I'd say things like that. I'd go to the festival. So, but I'm always thinking about the next job. And it was a different way of, you're constantly marketing yourself. It's uncomfortable. It was definitely uncomfortable at times, but I love films. So I'd go to lots of films, probably 3 films a week, if not more, in the theaters. Like I said, festivals, and just meet everyone I could, even other people in the audience who are coming to see the director.
Um, and how did it feel constantly having to market yourself? Because I think for a lot of
Yeah.
people, I know for a lot of people, like for example, in the military, that's one of the biggest things they struggle with is this idea that they have to promote themselves. It feels very strange because you never, well, I shouldn't say never, but it seems like you don't really have to do that in the military. And I think that's true for a lot of people in or out of the military. So how did that feel, and how did you, if you had any reluctance, how did you overcome it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I wasn't so good at marketing myself at first. And in fact, as an editor, you're in the back seat often with projects. So what happens is you're editing a film and the film's done. And then the director gets all the glory and all the publicity because that's, it's his project, which he made the decisions on, the final decisions often on the editing.
Mm-hmm.
So your name is like not even mentioned in publicity or in marketing or even online often. Online wasn't around back then actually, but
Yeah.
the any kind of situation, the director's getting all the PR and everything. So I'd be like, oh, I edited this film or this project. And people are like, oh, really? Cool. And that's if I'm trying to look for new jobs. So they knew the project,
Uh-huh.
and that was fine. It is uncomfortable. I'm a lot over that now. And I enjoy the marketing, but I try to find marketing that matches my personality. So like, give you an example right now, and we're going chronologically, but I'm jumping ahead for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I really enjoy teaching people. I enjoy the conversations I have with people. So I learned that a great way I can market my company now is meeting at bar associations and teaching people, meeting with them and speaking in front of them and showing them samples of our work.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a marketing directly, although that's what it ends up doing. but it's teaching them about what we do and showing them examples that will teach them how to do their job better. And in result, they see how I present in person because they want someone who can testify in court if necessary. And they see me teaching and they see that I can testify well. So that's a great way that I found. For me personally, I love that. It's stressful, but I also love it. And that's a good way to market myself. So I think if people think about different ways that can be marketing, and find out what's best match their personality and what they like to do.
Yeah, great point. So you're churning the short gigs for years and years, living with all your roommates. So after a while, it sounds like you kind of got tired of the grind. Was there a precipitating event that kind of said, I have to stop doing this, I need to be doing something else? Or what sort of spurred the transition to move into a different direction?
Well, I wanted to get married and I wanted to have kids and I wanted to support my family. And it didn't make sense, even though at that point I had moved into my own apartment, which was great to have my own place finally. But that still wasn't enough with all this work that I was doing, documentaries, feature documentaries. I mean, prominent stuff that, of course, documentaries don't make a lot of money necessarily, but, was making some, and a lot of other projects related to that, but not enough to support a family. So a friend of mine got married and they said to me, would you shoot my wedding? I was like, I'm below that. I can't shoot weddings. But they said, okay, well, I didn't say it that way. I just said, no, I want to enjoy your wedding. I want to enjoy your wedding. They said, well, we have a videographer now, but would you shoot the first part of the wedding, just this first section? It's called like the Bedekin, the Tish. It's this a Jewish wedding. I said, sure, I'll shoot that part. And I used my documentary skills and interviewed people. And really, I actually enjoyed it a lot. Meeting people, learning about them, asking them questions, and capturing someone's really intense day, like in a day that they want to capture and a day they don't want to forget if they can. So afterwards, my friends said to me, you did like an astounding job. It was the best part of our video compared to all the other video we had. And so it dawned on me, maybe I can do this as another part of my living. So I started going into that more. And I did a lot of wedding videos after that, a lot of bar mitzvah videos, event family videos. And yes, it wasn't documentary filmmaking, but I ended up really doing an exceptional job on these videos. In fact, too much in a way, like I worked too hard and I perfected it too much. But I started getting these higher end jobs of doing weddings. So I started getting the higher end clients. And that was fun. And I could get, 3 cameras when they took over the Hilton or whatever, like the whole hotel or whatever. So things that were a lot bigger and but not everyone recognized the quality of work that I was doing and they didn't appreciate it. So, and I was a perfectionist, which I've always been. Like I want everything done precisely. So I did that for a lot of years too, these wedding videos, because I wanted to support a family. I wanted my wife not to have to work outside the home, and I wanted to be able to support that the whole lifestyle. At some point, the next transition was a friend of mine who's a lawyer, and I was still doing corporate stuff too. But a friend of mine who's a lawyer asked me, he said, I have this video and I need some help with it. Would you mind looking at it? It's for a case. I said, well, I've never worked on cases before. I don't know what is involved. I'm not a legal expert. I don't know what's involved. He said, well, just look at it and see. So he brought me the video. It was on VHS tape. I won't go into all the details, except that it was super, for today's standards, like, super low resolution and involves security footage. And I worked on the case, ended up having to testify, which freaked me out completely. Like I was so nervous, but he said, just be yourself, just tell the truth and you'll be fine, So the judge asked, how do we know that you didn't manipulate the video to benefit your client? They asked me that in court. And the judge asked me, and I said, because I tell the truth. Like, I don't lie. And, I didn't know what else to answer. Like, how do I prove that I don't manipulate the data? Yeah, it's true. I could manipulate stuff. I could take out frames. I could change the order of frames. So that was a big hit, actually. We won the case. My client, who's my friend, I was actually his best man at his wedding. So he trusted me. He knew I'd do a good job. He gave me, a high five in the courtroom aisle, outside the tunnel or whatever. He gave me a high five and said, "You answered perfectly. That was the perfect answer." I said, "Oh, okay, great." I don't know, so that was my first foray. And then I didn't do any more with courts for another 5 years after that. Not another court case. But 5 years later, same friend calls me up because he has a super high profile case. And he needed a guy he could trust who could work on it. And he said, "I have some footage I want you to look at, see if you can help me with this." And I was like, oh no, I'm nervous again. And it's high profile. I mean, this is high press, press were covering it. And when he came, he brought not his partner, but his boss. His boss was like, "You're asking a bar mitzvah video guy to work on your case? Like, this is, a national case, and you're asking." And I didn't know that was the issue, but he brought him to my office. They met with me, and he showed me the footage. And I said, right off the bat, I said, "Would you like to see this section more clear?" It was a handheld video camera, and the guy had shot footage at night, and he'd pushed the wrong button. And I knew, because of all my experience doing camera work, that he had pushed a filter on his camera. It was a consumer camera. Well, it was a high-end consumer camera, but it changed the image. And I said, and I knew I had a filter that could do the negative of that. I knew it could reverse the filter. And this stuff had been given to the FBI, and they hadn't done it. They hadn't reversed that section because they didn't know what they're doing. The FBI sounds all fancy, the FBI, but really it's lower than average technology most of the time. And it depends on the person running the equipment, if he knows what he's doing. So I pushed the button live on my editing system for those clients, and it turned around the footage, and oh my gosh, they were like blown away. And they said, this looks like it could work out. After that case, which was 2 years basically of work on a case, or a year and a half, and did I testify? No, I don't think I testified, but I was in the courtroom for like a month, operating the equipment, helping the attorney with all kinds of evidence. I decided I could go forward with this side of my business. And this is what I wanted to pursue. And I thought it was fascinating. I got an interview with the press at that time. They asked me questions after the trial was over. And it was just really interesting and pretty, it was intense because it involved someone's life. We were working for the defense of a police officer that could have faced 20 years in jail. He's facing the loss of his freedom, the loss of his family, his income, his reputation. Everything was on the line. And so I really enjoyed him. He was a nice guy, and I enjoyed helping him.
So it was at that point then that you started, I believe your company's called the National Forensic Video Center?
It's the National Center for Audio and Video Forensics.
Okay.
NCAVF. And it's a long acronym. I did that on purpose to attract government agencies and attorneys that would like the fact that it's a long name. It sounds more important than the acronym. Mm-hmm. We've become a National Center for Audio and Video Forensics, but we weren't that when I started with the name. But we became that now. I was, since 2007, when that second case went to verdict, I was focusing on this as my business.
And so at that point, you stopped doing weddings and bar mitzvahs and family events and such and corporate events? Or?
I did a transition. I created a new website, I created a new identity, NCAVF, and I kept doing all the wedding stuff. And that transition took 3.5 years, I think. So from 2007, 2010, I was doing both. I was a one-man band with the NCAVF and a one-man band, somewhat. I had other people helping me with the wedding stuff always, with editing and shooting and all that. So I did have help with the wedding and bar mitzvah stuff, but it was a transition where I kept saying yes to both.
And I think, I assume by then you were married and you had children, right? So you're working essentially two jobs, both your own companies, basically.
Yeah.
How did it work? Because weddings typically are in the evenings, and I'm assuming the forensic work was, during the day. So it's like you're working day and night, and yet you've got a wife and children. So how did you deal with that dynamic? As your life grew and became more complex, et cetera.
It was honestly the wedding stuff was what was complex and what was time consuming and overwhelming, and not paying enough, and dealing with the mother-in-laws and dealing with the crazy brides. And it really was way more stressful to deal with that stuff. You're right. Late nights, coming home at 2 a.m. after shooting a wedding, it's not pleasant at all. And climbing up to get a high shot on a ladder, overlooking people who are dancing around and pounding, and you're worried about them tripping you. I got special shoes that had hard tops to them because people would step on your feet while you're dancing, and so I protected my feet that way. So yeah, it was stressful, and I loved being at their special events, because everyone's dressed up and looking their best, and there's wonderful food, and I got to enjoy that somewhat. So, and I got to see them enjoy it. I got to interview people who are in their best behavior, and I get great stories from them in their weddings. But I faded it out. Yes, I wanted that. The stuff with the courts was so nice because I'm dealing with attorneys, and they never say to me, "What, you charge that much an hour?" Because we're talking to attorneys, and they charge that much an hour. So so I loved that, and it was during the day, normal hours, not on weekends. Although I could work on stuff on the weekends, the courts aren't open on the weekends. And attorneys, for the most part, they want to enjoy their life too, although they work really hard. They understand. They say I'm going on vacation, or they understand I'm not available from Friday night till Saturday night. I can talk with you Saturday night, no problem. And it was fine, no big deal. They just planned their day around that. They planned their time around meeting me. And I could meet with them on Sunday. I'd come into the office, no problem. Come in the office on Sunday. So it was really nice to be able to control my own schedule a lot more, even more. Now, there are court dates, and those are set. And it's hard to get, you really need to be available for those testimony times. But you give them parameters. You say, I'm not available this day I'm in court, this day I'm going to be in Hawaii or Israel or whatever. And they understand, and they work with me on that. So it was really good. And again, I was running my own business. So I'm not employable, I don't think, at all. I guess if it came to emergency, I could be, but I don't see myself being a good employee. I like being able to determine my surroundings. I like to design my office. I like to write my own marketing, and I like to have my own schedule and decide what I want to do at any one time, because I keep changing. I like to mix it up for myself in my life.
So one of the things that I think is interesting, I know when I was in the real estate business before I joined the Navy, I think like a lot of people, I grew up with this image of attorneys were, or they're horrible people. They only want to cheat you, all this sort of baggage that lawyers carry. And what I found was my best clients were attorneys. Their level of professionalism was very high. Their level of, they accorded me a great deal of professional respect as well, which is gratifying, because a lot of private individuals did not. They just, looked at me and it was all based on price, from their perspective, right? So I'm wondering, for people who are thinking about getting into a particular line of work, a particular industry, and they're concerned about, well, gosh, I'll have to work with we'll pick on lawyers just because we've been talking about them. I have to work with lawyers, and lawyers are horrible. Was that your perspective, going in? Did you have to change that, or how did that aspect sort of evolve as you developed your business and grew your business?
Yeah, interesting question. I like that. I've always found attorneys to be really good to work with for the most part. There are your bad apples, and you got to be ready for that and be concerned about that. People that I learned quite early that I wanted to manage my business like a law firm. I decided to use their software and ask for retainers up front, all kinds of things that would mimic what a lawyer would expect and respect.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was nice. And like I said, rarely did they ask, wow, your rate's so high or whatever per hour. They want to be careful with the money, but because it's often clients' money too.
Mm-hmm.
But they respected our work a lot. And our job was so different from theirs in terms of lawyers are very book focused and law focused for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
They went to school that way. They had to study and pass the tests and learn all the laws. They're not technically the best, usually. They're not good at computers and software and understanding the intricacies, let's say, of a piece of electronics or software or like video to take it apart. So that was good that they could rely on our expertise, and I could guide them, and even guide them in terms of court, what questions to ask the other experts, what to look for in the videos, and what to be ready for if the other side asks it of them. So I enjoyed that. I would say attorneys are really good to work for. So if whoever you are, if you can work out a way to work for attorneys, build a business that way towards attorneys, that's a great opportunity. But no matter who it is, make sure you research that group. If you're going into a business that's going to be interacting a lot with a certain group of people, make sure your target audience is someone you want to deal with on a regular basis. If it's, I'm not going to, I was thinking like if, you're a doctor, you're going to be dealing with sick people a lot. So do you like dealing with sick people? Or kind of doctor. So if you're a medical expert, like you're going to deal with athletes. So would you like dealing with, let's say, athletes all the time? If you deal with injuries to athletes, maybe that's great. Maybe you're into athletics. So I'm just giving you very specific examples, but I enjoyed working with attorneys because it was such a good trusting interaction. Mm-hmm. And on a professional level, as you said, it was wonderful to work with them.
And that's actually great advice to really know, the group of people that you're working with. I had clerked for an attorney before I started my company, and so I knew how law firms worked, and I had experience interacting with lawyers. Maybe that's why I found it so easy to work with them, because I came out of that environment. Yeah. But it is that brings up an interesting point, and that is many of us have prior experiences working in whatever area, and there may be another way for us to work with that same group of people that will give us greater professional satisfaction. And since we know those people already, the key becomes then how can we serve them? What can we do that'll make their work easier or better for their clients, et cetera, which is
because you like
in the end, I guess kind of what you did, right?
If you like them, you like those groups, so figure out a way to deal with them. I enjoyed the interaction with my first, my friend in court. It was fascinating. And the other side actually on that second high profile thing, even the other side called me that bar mitzvah video guy. They tried to, try to denigrate what I was doing because it hurt their case so badly. They had to try to attack me and the work as opposed to the evidence. But that happens sometimes. But yeah, I enjoyed working with the attorneys. It's funny. Sometimes they go at you like crazy in the courtroom in front of the jury. And then afterwards, like in the hall, when the jury's not looking, they're like your best, they're friendly with you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that was very hard for me to understand. that part of it was the hardest. Was like, sorry, you're not my friend anymore. Like you attacked me like that, we're done.
So that it's interesting. And I kind of learned the reverse lesson when I was in real estate. I used to do expert witness work, and I was the new kid on the block. And I was doing a case for a friend of mine who was a lawyer. I was his expert, and I caught the other expert with a major error in what he had done. And he'd been an expert witness for literally decades. Everybody knew this guy, and I was pretty nervous going up against him, right?
Right.
And basically, my lawyer nailed him, and he had to admit he had overlooked an important feature, in front of. In this case, it was an arbitration, but it was from the arbitrator, right? And I thought to myself, I've just made a lifelong enemy, right? Because I, here I am, this nobody, right? Who. So. After we were done testifying, they took a break and they excused both of us, and we ended up walking to the elevator together. And I'm thinking, I'm just standing there going, I'm waiting for the blowback, right? And he turns to me and he says, you know what? That was a good job you did. He said, it was colossally stupid of me to overlook that point. And you served your client well. He says, really, congratulations. And I realized, this is somebody who actually was dedicated to doing good work. And so when he saw, when somebody did good work, he could respect it, even if it meant that, he kind of got blasted. And so I think in many cases, that's where, for lawyers, that's kind of where it's coming from. I mean, they're going to do the best they can for their clients, but when it comes down to it, they respect good work. They respect a client, well represented. So
we've had
I like working with them. Yeah,
we had many times when someone on the other side of us on a case will end up hiring us later. So like the attorney on the other side will be realizing, oh shoot, like we really missed a lot of stuff here. So the next time they get video evidence or audio evidence or cell phone evidence, they'll call us. But that's really makes me feel good when someone on the other side who they've lost to you now calls you up for help. Like, okay, great.
Yeah. Tremendous validation, right?
Yeah. But the other thing is you got experts on the other side. This is talking specifics about what we do, but for a moment, you get experts on the other side of us, video experts who I totally don't respect, and it's very frustrating to me that they're just doing it for the money. Whatever they get paid a lot of money, they'll say whatever the client wants, and that's extremely frustrating to us.
So where is your business at now? Here you've been at this now for, I guess, about 12 years, 11, 12 years. I think you said 2010 you started your company. So where are you at now, and what have you done over the last decade or so to grow your business to get where you are?
Yeah, so one of the things that most business owners forget to do or don't know to do at all, and it is, you want to grow your business, that means that you have to give up something to someone else. You have to hire people to do your job, and it's very hard for people to take apart what they do and give it over in little pieces to other people and say, okay, now you're going to do this, I'm going to do this. And it's hard to let go because they won't care so much about your business as you do, because you're just paying them an hourly wage and they'll get it no matter what they do, until you fire them if they do a really bad job. So that's a very hard thing to do. So the first thing I did was really easy. I gave someone a reception job, answer the phones for me, take messages. And I realized right away, I was like, oh, that's great. Well, I don't have to answer the phone anymore. But it was like an obvious thing. The harder thing was, what other pieces of my job can I break off? And so I made, after 3 years, so 2007, 2010, in that time, I started writing up, I looked at business plans online. I tried to figure out, how can I grow this business more than just me? And in 2010, I wrote up a very specific plan and all the different jobs, all the different positions that I've been doing that I could maybe give out to other people. So I broke it apart very carefully and I wrote it all up in a paragraph form, each job and what they did. And I kept manipulating it and changing it and adding and taking away, taking from one job to another job. And I ended up with something like 16 different jobs.
Wow.
And I was doing a lot of them myself, but I realized once I did that, it was really helpful to break that apart. I could then, what do I like least to do? What am I worst at doing? What can I give to other people? And so I started hiring more than just receptionists. I hired other people to be not just the receptionist, but maybe to give them other pieces of those jobs. Can you do this job? Can you stop? What is this person that I just hired good at besides answering the phones?
Mm-hmm.
They're good with computers. Okay, well, let's give them some computer related work, forensic related work that I could charge a lot more per hour, but pay them a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
Pay them their hourly, but then charge the company that I'm working for a lot more per hour to do that job. I would oversee it, I would check it, so that's what I did. And I broke apart the jobs. And then I hired another person to help me with editing. So I'd hire, in my specific case, film editors, video editors, production people that I could oversee. And I knew the language because I worked in that. And I knew to look for people who did documentaries or feature films as an editor. That was my next step. I hired editors because I was an editor. I could talk their language. I put them in a separate room. I said, okay, work on this, convert this footage, prepare it for me, and then I'll do this next step myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead.
So go ahead.
No, there was a lot of jobs like that. And it's very hard because they're not going to do the job as well as you do.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to let go a little bit. And that's okay. They won't do the perfect job. They'll do, because I said I was a perfectionist, and that even today I'm still am. And that's good for what I do because I charge a lot more now. And attorneys want perfection in a way. They want to know everything about that could come about in a case that could show up in their trial because it could be used against them. The other side might come up with this detail and they don't want those kind of damaging facts come out without them being ready for it. So if they're ready for it, fine. And if it doesn't come out in the court, great, it didn't come out, but at least they're ready for it. And my perfectionism demanded that, but the people you hire, they're not perfectionists necessarily. And they're not as, they don't have the reasons for being as careful. So you really have to be on them. So yeah, I'm a little bit of a, looking over their shoulder, I'm a little bit of that in my business, but I'm not going to apologize for it.
Yeah. So, and at this point,
I'm going to get some tea. Hold on. I need to drink something with all this talking. I'm not used to talking so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we're actually, we just have a few more minutes. So, and there you go. Here's your commercial. Show there you go.
Oh.
NCAV.
Yes.
NCAVF. There you go.
Yeah.
The National Center for Audio, Visual, and Visual Forensics. Very nice.
Thank you.
Nice. So at this point, what is the size of your firm and what are the plans for the future?
So I have 5 full-time employees now, right now. And 2 of them are off-site now. So they are working remotely. That was a hard thing for me, but everyone's personality is different. And one of the guys is just really, I trust him. He does a good job. And so working remotely is possible. And he's just very precise. He is like me in that way. And I see mistakes in what he does when he sends stuff to us, but he is trustworthy and he does the work and I can review it and I can make changes here in the office. So that works out remotely. I didn't ever expect that I could do that with new technology, better and better for this. It's been great. But growing further, I could see, if you're saying what's going to be in the future, I never know. I really don't know. I try to adapt and grow as best I can, try to see new opportunities. Right now, we added on cell phones to what we offer people. Over the last many years, we've been getting better and better handling cell phone extraction, recovery of data, analysis of cell phones. that is something that is a new aspect to the business that I saw coming. Also, we do a lot of 3D modeling now, which was a new thing that, well, not a new thing, but we've done it. I added to the business as well, thinking we could do this for clients. It's a natural outcast. We scan a location in 3D scanner. We can determine on the footage that we get, what is someone's height, how fast a car is going, how far are people from each other when something happens, things like that are very helpful to a case. So I always keep my eye out for new technology and new ways to help the clients, new ways to analyze the evidence. I could see opening up a new office possibly outside of LA, because even though we work nationally and even internationally, but mostly nationally, clients still sometimes feel more comfortable with people locally to them. But we have cases all over the country, New York, and all the big cities and even small cities. We work for police, we work for DAs, we work for public defenders, private attorneys, we work for civil cases and criminal cases. So all kinds of variety of cases. We worked Attorney General's office even for major cases. So we've had a lot of stuff. So I could see opening up one more office somewhere around the country to expand.
And you have to get a corporate jet to fly between the two.
Yeah, right. Sure. I don't even fly first class. I'm like trying to save money all the time. But no, I enjoy the work we do. I could see continuing to grow, but I have to always be up on my skills too and improve my skills personally. So, because I'm testifying about video evidence, but video evidence is always changing. Like right now, a lot of videos come from phones. Before this, it was on a DVR in a box in someone's office, and we still get those. But a lot of evidence now is digital on chips from the Nest cameras and Ring cameras. And so technology is always changing, and you have to be up on it. You have to be educating yourself all the time, and that applies to everyone.
So let me see, in the last few minutes we have here, let me see if I can distill some of the key points that you made. I think, first of all, one of the things you said was you need to market in a way that fits with your own personality and your own way of dealing with things. And I think that's a great lesson, whether a person has a business or whether they're looking for that job that they want. These days, job hunting is a self-marketing function, and it's uncomfortable at first, but if you keep doing it and do it in the way that's authentic to yourself, so then you can overcome it. So that seems like that's number one, is important. Number two, it seems to me like you were willing to move out of your comfort zone when asked to do that first bit of forensic video work. And I think we shouldn't underestimate that if we want to take that next step in our professional lives, we're almost for sure going to have to step out of our comfort zone, not without letting people know that this is what we're doing, but look for those opportunities.
Sure, I love that. I do love that. I do love stepping out of my comfort zone, saying yes, knowing my skill levels, but knowing I can learn what I need to learn, and knowing I can help the client. And I love those challenges. So yeah, I enjoy the challenges. It's a good way to grow in your life, and personally and also professionally.
And so let's see, you also, there was another point I wanted to remember. I probably should start writing these things down. Find a group of people that you like to interact with. Yeah. And make them your clients. Or I would add, for those people who want a job, make them the people that you're going to work with. That make that your work environment, your work culture. That seems to be crucial. When I would coach people coming out of the military, I would say, the military has a very strong culture. Yeah. Most people who stay in the military for any length of time, they like that culture. And we need to look at the culture of an industry as well as an individual company to know whether it's going to be a good fit. And a lot of people overlook that. And there's a lot of churn in first and second jobs, as people transition from one industry to another or one area to another.
Yeah, I think it's very important. Yes. And even when I meet police officers, and most of them have been in the military, it's a very similar feel to it. And I could see why soldiers want to be police officers. It makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I've got one last question to ask you, and we've got about 4 minutes left here. So what do you think is the most important quality that you have that has helped you get to the place where you really enjoy what you're doing, as well as doing well, financially? What do you think that is? So
I think it's a fair question. Talking about myself, though, makes me a little uncomfortable, but that's what I've been doing a lot of. But I think I'm very authentic with who I am. I think so. I think that people see that and they resonate with that. I'm just who I am. I'm not trying to fake something, be someone else. When I prepare for trial, I am completely crazily careful with all the details to understand everything about the trial. I don't have the best memory. So if you ask me about a trial from like a year ago, I might forget most of the details. But right before the trial, I'm going to be crazily needing time to review everything so that when it comes to trial, I can be myself. I can answer the questions straightforwardly and be real with the jury too. So I can throw out a joke or be funny, just be myself. And they feel comfortable with me and trust me. I think that's very important. It's just when you come off slimy, which I've seen experts I wouldn't trust them. I just feel it. That's important. So you want to be authentic to who you are. So I think that's important. And when I meet clients and put them at ease here, or if I'm teaching at a bar association meeting or in someone's law firm, I think that comes through as well.
Well, that's great. And I think I agree with you 100%. We have to be authentic to ourselves, or I think no matter what we're doing, we're not going to enjoy doing it because we're constantly worried about playing a role rather than being immersed in whatever our profession is asking us to do. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming on The Way to Wow. People Making Money, fascinating career that you built for yourself. And I wish you continued enormous success. I have no doubt that you will continue to find that. And thank you for sharing with all of us, your thoughts about how you got there. These are things we can all replicate. I was talking with someone last night. I was saying, I'm not, this is not a knock on, Elon Musk or people like that, but most of us are not going to be that person. But we can all replicate the kind of success that you've had by following, what usually comes down to a few simple principles. And I think you've really highlighted those for us today. So thank you very much.
You got it. I think that people should know their weaknesses too. They have to know what they're not good at and be honest with that. And I am honest with that as much as I can to know this is not my skill. This is my skill. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, you'll be following the path of success for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're going to wrap things up here. I just want to say for those of you viewing, if you want to tell somebody else about what we're doing here on the show, I'd certainly appreciate it. If you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel, that would be terrific. Of course, we're looking to grow and help ever more people each week. And if you know of someone who has a remarkable way of making a living, please let us know. Go to thewaytowowshow.com. You can send us a message through there, or you can put it in a comment on any of the social media platforms that we're streaming on: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We also promote on Instagram. And so just want to close by thanking you all for watching. Thank you, especially for those of you who stay with us every week. And just know that we will be back here again next week at 12:30 p.m., 3:30 p.m. 12:30 p.m. Pacific time, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. And thanks so much for watching. And David, thanks for being our guest today.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Really appreciate being here. It was a lot of fun.